Welcome to More Than a Few Words, a marketing conversation. This is your host, Lorraine Ball. And after years and years and years of working with companies and building brands, I still run into people who think a brand is just a pretty picture. And it isn't. There is so much more to your brand than just your logo. Now, I'm not dismissing the importance of a good looking logo. However, to have a more well-rounded branding conversation with me today, I have invited Jessica Adanich to join me. She's an award-winning designer, brand strategist, and founder of DesignProd Studio. She helps businesses turn ideas into powerful, market-ready brands. Jessica, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I'm really excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
I am so excited to have you because I am a brand geek. My background in corporate was all in branding, and I've done a lot of other things over the years. Running an agency, you juggle a lot and develop other skills. But at my core, I'm still fascinated by branding. And so, from your perspective, I'm thinking about building a brand or rebuilding my brand. Where do I start?
Well, I love that you phrased it that a brand is much more than a logo. A lot of people think that a logo is just their brand. But if you think of the logo as being the face, there's a lot more to the body than the face. So really, I lead companies into understanding their target audience. That is the first and foremost thing that you need to know is who are you talking to? Who are you trying to sell to? Because what you might like or think is good for your company visually might not be hitting the target at all.
Absolutely. I remember back in my corporate days, we were rebranding something, and one of my bosses told me he just hated it. And I said, "That's okay. You're not my customer." And here he is. He's a senior vice president. He thinks he knows his stuff, but he's an engineer. He doesn't know anything about marketing. And I said, "You don't represent the people we want to talk to. And so until you get inside their head, you don't get to talk to me."
Correct. And now with technology, there's so many more ways that entrepreneurs or, business people starting out in business can access tools to get that information. Whereas before it was, let's do, focus groups and things like that, where now with AI, you can kind of put in the information and use that as a tool responsibly to figure out that information to get you started.
I love using AI to do the initial profiling, but I think, and particularly for established companies, you have to balance what AI is telling you, I think, against your reality.
Yes, it's not. AI is a fantastic tool. It's a tool in the toolbox. It is not everything. You can't fix or use everything. Can't use a wrench to fix everything. And that's kind of like AI. And always double check it. That's why I say use it responsibly, because whether it's an image or copy, it's not perfect, but it is certainly a way to get started. And nothing is better than honestly talking to your end consumer, whether it's at trade shows or markets or sending out surveys via email, because they will give you feedback. They will tell you the honest truth, and nothing beats that.
I do like it's both good and bad when I ask AI to look at reviews for a company and tell me what the market thinks, because it's good information, but it can be painful because it's a little unfiltered.
It is brutally honest. And I feel often companies, they want sugar-coated results. So not that you want harsh or incredibly negative or hurtful things, but to see those as areas of improvement. Because if you don't know where you're lacking or where you're missing the mark, how do we ever improve? And that really should be the goal of a brand, whether you're selling a service or a product. How can we improve? Even if it's down to customer service or packaging, that's going to help you increase sales, which is really the bottom line of every company.
Absolutely. I always say that your brand is really what people say about you when you leave the room. And
Yes. It is. It really is. And I try to stress that with people because it's It's your 24-hour salesperson. It's when your product is on the shelf, or if you're a service company, when you leave that business or consumer's house doing that service, what are they going to say about you? When someone asks, well, what did you think of your roofing company? What's the honest reality? I think that is, it's memorable.
Absolutely. Okay. So we've talked a lot about kind of defining your customer and finding out what the market thinks about you. And I've got all this information. Now what?
Well, the way I start with clients is giving them a brand discovery questionnaire, and it does go over, their target customer as well, but also asks them things like colors, aesthetics, what's the vibe of your company? What's your mission? What's your core values? What do you stand for? That connected with your target audience can start building a picture of what you want those aesthetics and that logo and the colors and fonts to be like. And that can be often tricky for people to answer, but I think it's a very, very important thing, because if you don't know what you stand for, how you're building your company, the consumer's not going to either.
Absolutely. The one thing that gave me a little moment of pause is sometimes clients fall in love with a color. And for whatever reason, they think this is their color. And being able to help them understand, yes, that's a lovely color. But it does. I will never forget when I first started my company, I had been in corporate for a really long time. And I had this vision of grays and mauves and kind of smoky blues. And the brand I was building was very fun and playful. And my designer looked at me and said, go paint a wall in your house that color. We need something with more energy and more pop for your brand.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes. Color theory that's a whole conversation and bucket in itself. If you look at certain industries, there's a reason why you see a lot of healthcare companies or medical companies with blues and calming colors. There is a point to it. There's a science and a psychology. I tell clients my favorite color is orange. I absolutely love it. Orange is not really a popular favorite color. Do you see it as my major brand color? No. So just because you like something doesn't mean that that's the best route to go.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Okay. So you're playing with colors that support your logo. And I'm just going to tell you that if you're serious about your business, do not pay $10 on Fiverr or, buy something off the internet. This is going to live with you. Get the logo. So we're going to start there. But I am working with the designer. What kind of information should I be sharing with them? What kind of feedback will be helpful in this process?
Yes, I feel like being as honest as you can in a professional, polite way about what you like and don't like is crucial. Even if you feel like the way you're going to phrase something might not make sense, designers are like visual detectives. If you tell them it makes you feel a certain way or it's not making you feel a certain way, if they're a good designer, they're going to be able to take your feedback and make those changes that are going to make you fall in love with it. So having getting pictures off of the internet or, like making a vision board, all of that, including your feedback, will help them design something that you really will love.
I think that is so powerful. I love that vision board idea. I love pushing clients to really figure out not just what they want the logo to look like, but kind of the world that logo is going to live in. And so by seeing those other images.
Yeah. And often people who are not creative or heavily creative, because I think we all have creativity in us, definitely it's just tapping into it. But if you can't articulate it in words, making a vision board or collecting images is a great way to express what you're trying to drive for and tell a designer.
Absolutely. Okay. So I've got my target customers. I have a good handle on my logo. I kind of know what I want. What else should I be considering in my total brand package that will help me create a consistent presence so everybody who's talking about me is talking about me the same way?
Yes. Well, making sure that no matter what you are designing or creating, that you are consistent. So if you are doing business cards, a website, that's why it's crucial to do your logo and branding in the very beginning so that no matter what type of marketing initiatives you're doing, things look consistent. A lot of people, because it's your company, you feel like you're being overly, kind of screaming the same thing or you're too repetitive, but that's the point. How many times have you seen a commercial for a Chia Pet or a Snuggie, and finally after the 10th time, you're like, maybe I will get that Chia Pet. Yes, because that's the point. That consistency is now hitting home.
Yes, yes, I love that. I still have never bought a Chia Pet, but I do get the repetition. Yeah,
Yes, yes.
awesome. Okay, if I have time for one final tip, as someone is going through this branding process, what else should they think about or focus on?
I would kind of hit home that a lot of companies right now are using AI to create a logo. And I think that's great to generate concepts to pass off to a designer. But your comment about don't hire someone off of Fiverr for $10 to do your logo because it's not going to be a high res or proper vector logo to send to a printer. So you're going to ultimately end up spending 5 times as much later on to have it redone or make it something that is actually truly yours that AI hasn't also created for someone else. It really is
Mhm.
invaluable to make sure that you have those digital assets the way that you need them, as well as I'm a big component of proponent of having your logo look good in one color. A lot of brands have a multicolor logo, and then when you need to put it in black and white, it's a big blob.
I'm laughing because one of my early designers, one of the guys that worked for me, he wasn't classically trained. He incredibly talented, great eye, okay? But he did everything in Photoshop. He really didn't like Illustrator. And
Oh,
so he could create the, vector stuff and whatever, but he would create these gradient logos because you could do it in Photoshop.
yeah.
And yeah, I was so glad when we finally were like, no, no, this is beautiful. Now go recreate it in Illustrator because we have to be able to use it.
Yeah, kind of like the designer said to you, go paint a wall in your home. Yeah, go
Mhm.
print that out and frame it for your home. Like, that's
Yes,
not going to be a logo. It's a great illustration. It's not a good logo.
absolutely. Awesome. Well, Jessica, I have really enjoyed this conversation. I'm so glad that you dropped by. Thank you for being a part of
Yes.
the show. Um, if you've enjoyed Jessica's comments, if you want to learn more about what she does and see examples of her work, hop over to DesignPodStudio.com. You'll find lots of information that will help you build your brand. Jessica, thanks again.
Thank you.
And if you've enjoyed this conversation, if what we've talked about has prompted an idea or a question, hop over to morethanafewwords.com/contact. Leave me a quick note or better yet, a voicemail on SpeakPipe. I'd love to hear from you. This has been another episode of More Than a Few Words. Thanks for listening.